Hey guys, Rob Sambles here from Rob Sambles Photography. So another video. I did promise it wouldn't be as long to wait for this one, so here you go. So I thought for this one I would talk about the big. My last video was about budget photography, and the other big thing everyone asks me about when they email me is how do you get access to events. So how do I get into like some of the things I do, my Fulham football things and stuff like that. So now it's a hard one to answer, guys, because the honest answer is you can't unless you're supposed to be there. So I work for Fulham Academy, which is why I do a lot of Fulham stuff you see on my videos, under 18s, under 21s, Premier League Academy. I work for a BBL basketball team, which is why you see me doing a lot of BBL stuff. And that's the kind of answer of how you get into these things, is you have to get these opportunities, and then normally in line with that you get accreditation. Now, things like football, to get to the top level football, like in the Premier League and Championship and, well, anything in the league really, you have to have various accreditations, whether it's through kind of your own Dataco license or various bits. And I won't go into the details of all the different hows and wheres, but you might work for an agency or something like that. But the bigger part is how do you get there in the first place. And I guess what I did was I started with sports I could get into, and that's the advice I would give anybody, is you can't expect with anything, with any kind of sort of job or with any kind of thing you want to get into, you can't expect to get straight to kind of the end stuff, so you start with what you can get into. There's a hell of a lot of sports in this country, and or whichever country you guys are in, if you're watching this in the States or Europe or something like that, there's loads of sports in whichever country we're in which aren't the big top sports that everyone wants to watch. Here in the UK, football, especially by an absolute stretch, is the biggest, I suppose, in terms of media coverage. But then rugby, cricket, things like that, very, very big. And could I just rock up to a Premier League football game with my camera? No, of course I couldn't. But there are some sports out there, and everything from, I guess basketball's probably somewhere halfway in between. But there's a lot of sports out there which actually don't have that level of interest, and in fact there's a lot of sports and a lot of local teams in some of these kind of sports, and I'm talking everything from baseball, which, hey look, if you're watching this in the States, that's big. Here in the UK it's very, very small. American football, again, to use that same kind of example, yeah, great, big in the States. Here, very, very small. So you could contact local teams for that kind of thing, and I'm sure they would welcome you with open arms to turn up and just take photos. Maybe you have to give them a couple of photos or something for them to let you in, something like that. But with local teams, it doesn't matter, there's no competition, you're not taking away from anyone else's work that they're doing down there, so no one's going to mind, no one's going to stop you doing that. And through that, you can start to practice, you can start to get better, you can start to hopefully build a bit of a portfolio, and then that's how then you get recognised to get into something bigger. Now, the other thing you guys are going to do is, as you get better and you get more photos and you start to develop a little portfolio, don't be scared to tell people about it. Get out there and show people. I started taking photos of basketball for fun. I started to do some local league stuff, a team just near here, some university stuff with a couple of local universities, and built a set of really good shots. And then I went out and shouted about them. I went out to a lot of BBL teams and showed people what I had and what I felt was good and what I could do. And that's how I then got invited to photograph some high-level basketball. And then that's how I then got an actual job photographing BBL basketball. And it grows from there. Sometimes there's a lucky break, let's be honest with you guys. Look, my opportunity with Fulham was a bit lucky, I suppose. A bit at the right place at the right time. The right person saw some football stuff I'd done for local teams. They liked it, they invited me along for a little trial session, and it's kind of gone from there. So, there's a little bit of luck, as there is with everything in this world. You guys go out for a job interview or whatever kind of job you're trying to get, nothing to do with photography maybe. Sometimes there's a bit of luck, if you happen to be the best person there, great. Maybe another day you get unlucky, someone amazing comes along as well and they get the job instead. It's sometimes there's a bit of luck involved with these things. So get yourself out there, show people your work, put your work in front of the right people. But in terms of how do you get into these events, I'm afraid there's no answer to that, guys. Like, there's not like a password or something like that. You guys just have to build your work, get better and better, and then hopefully you will get a chance to get into some of these things. But don't be scared of like lower level sports. Hey, pick a sport in this country. A couple of the ones I named, or there's hundreds of other sports that, with all due respect to those sports, and actually some of my favourite sports in this country, like basketball, are some of the much smaller sports in the UK. But the reality of it is, there's not so much media coverage of some of these things. You know, you don't have a pile of photographers trying to get in, so there's not really much of an accreditation process. And people will invite you down to let you go and take photos, and that's where you get your practice. Same with football. Could you rock up to a Fulham first team game or a Premier League game? No, you couldn't. But you know what? There's probably a team that's going to, well, it's the off season right now, but come August, September, there's going to be a team playing in your local park, which, you know what, they probably would love some photos, and they'd happily invite you down. And you can build it from there, and you can grow from there, and that's honestly the way to do it. Some people won't like that. There's no quick fix. You've got to work. I started doing this 4 years ago, and I had a couple of lucky breaks, but I also worked really hard to get better and get my work in front of as many people as I possibly could, and that's how I started to get a couple of these opportunities. And what I would say is, I'm still the very early stages of that kind of journey. I mean, I don't do Premier League football, I don't do international sports or anything like that, so you know, hopefully there's still a way to go for me too, and we'll see what happens. The other big thing just to add on this, guys, be really careful, hey? So yeah, some teams will just invite you down and stuff, but just be careful what you're doing in terms of insurance. So very early on, when I first started doing this seriously, I got myself set up with my insurance, my public liability insurance. Something really careful. I wouldn't ever recommend sitting on the baseline, for example, of a basketball game if you don't have personal liability insurance. Too risky. You know, you never know. You could get hurt, someone else could get hurt around you, your gear could cause injury to someone. You're going to need it. And even some of the most basic level of sports, the lowest level of like football national league, things like that, they still would want you to have public liability insurance before they even consider letting you into photograph events. So that's something really important to think about, guys. Okay, that's it for this video. Slightly shorter one, but it answers a question that I probably had 50 people ask me over the course of the last few months. So there you go. I hope that was useful, guys. As per always, you can follow my social media at Rob Sambles Photo on Twitter or Instagram, my Facebook page. Check out my website, which is going to come across the screen any second now. Thank you very much.